Hello everyone, welcome to Program Your Life. What if I told you you're like a magnet? You might be wondering, how is that possible, or what do you mean by that? Well, I don't actually mean a metal magnet, but you do attract things. Now, it's based on your emotion and vibration. That's what makes you attract something or repel something. As we learned from Nikola Tesla, the secrets of the universe are all about frequency and vibration. And if you're on a certain vibration, then you attract specific things. So as we raise our vibration, we expect to see different things in our life, and things change. What if I told you you're just like a magnet, and by changing how you feel emotionally, you can change everything by disciplining yourself? And here's Dr. Joe Dispenza to explain that concept.
There was a researcher out of Yale University that in the 1940s that was studying electromagnetic fields around living organisms. And in the 1940s at Yale University, nobody was doing this, and he was a vitalist. He wanted to understand the unseen fields around living organisms. So he started studying eggs, all kinds of eggs. Chicken eggs, swallow eggs, reptile eggs, snake eggs, salamander eggs, there's all kinds of eggs. And he was using a magnetometer, and what he found was what 100% of the time, no matter what egg he measured, the positive charge was always at the head, and the negative charge was always at the tail. Well, if you have positive charge on one end and negative charge on the other end, you got an external electromagnetic field called the magnetic field. That's a magnet, right? What happens with human beings is every thought has a frequency. Every thought produces a chemical. So if you keep obsessing about your lack of finances, your lack of time, your lack of energy, and you're taking thought, it's producing a frequency, and that frequency in the form of chemistry is storing that thought emotionally right in your second center. You feel guilty, you feel unhappy. The moment you feel unhappy, then you generate more thoughts equal to that feeling, which makes more chemicals, and you keep taking energy from the brain and storing it in the body. If you react to people in your life and you feel anger, frustration, whether it's traffic, the news, whatever it is, but you're drawing from this field, this electromagnetic field, you're tapping that resource and you're making chemistry out of it, and the field shrinks. So now, by doing that and living in survival, the body no longer is a magnet. So now you have very little energy in the brain. In fact, 5% of the energy is in the brain. And 95% is stored in the body. Now, the body's been conditioned emotionally. So, a lot of energy in the body, very little in the brain. So, in our work, we want to move energy back up to the brain. So, we do these different meditations and these different techniques to draw that energy right up to the top of the head. Now, when this energy shakes loose and it starts to move, the sympathetic nervous system switches on. And instead of releasing energy out like you're being chased by a predator or you're having an orgasm, that same energy is going up into the brain, and the brain switches on, and it goes into these very high frequencies called gamma brainwave patterns. Now the person has an arousal. It's energy that's being released into the brain, and you can only describe it as ecstasy or bliss. So the energy of guilt that was stored from thinking and feeling in the same way releases, and it travels up to the brain and is going back. And when it reaches the brain, what happens? You get more energy in the brain, and it begins to produce that external field. So you're beginning to create a field around your body. But once the energy is moved, you're going to feel pretty blessed in that moment. The amazing thing is that rush of energy that's moving into the brain is changing the brain's physiology and producing that field. Now you have energy to heal. Now the body is a magnet again, and it's as the energy moves up the spinal cord and it starts passing through those spinal nerves, and there's a lot of dynamics going on the body. That energy that was once stored in that one of those energy centers that's released is energy to heal, energy to create a new future. You're replenishing your field, and now the body becomes more of a magnet instead of an inert piece of metal with no charge, right? So the person then who's reacting to whatever person or circumstance in their life, the stronger the emotion that they feel towards politics, towards the traffic, the more they're paying attention to it. But where you place your attention is where you place your energy. Well, you're not creating. What you're doing is you're tying up your vital life force. You're giving your power away to that person or that circumstance that you could be using to create a new life with. So when a person's sitting in their meditation, and I love doing this. We just had an event in Marco Island. I'm going to take people further than where they normally go. I know they're going to go, oh, well, I'm done with my meditation. No, you're not done. We're going to take you to that point where that feeling is so in your face, and you can't turn on your cell phone. You can't get up and walk away because 1,000 people are not getting up and walking away, and you're part of the community. You're sitting in the fire, and you have one of two choices. You can let that brain run on programs and hardwired patterns, and the arousal will drive your brain further out of balance, or you'll practice the formula. And as you lower the volume to that emotion, you're going to take your attention off that person or problem. Guess what? Here comes energy back to you. You're taking your power back. And now you're building your field that way. And when that happens, energy starts to move up into the heart. Once it makes it to the heart, it's going to the brain. So we start seeing people, their hearts naturally open up. And all the things they thought they wanted when they came to the event, they no longer want, because they feel like they have it. Because they feel like they've got the feeling before the experience. So that they feel so whole that they no longer want. And they're not looking for their future anymore. You only look for it when you feel lack. When your body is conditioned emotionally into the future, why would you look for it when it feels like it's already happened? Now this is where it gets weird. Because now things start coming to you, and you're no longer in need. And when it comes to you, you go, oh, here, take it, I don't want it.
Welcome back, everyone, so we can see the power of this. You are really like a magnet. It's not metaphorical. The power of your emotions and your vibration can attract anything or repel anything.
I just wanted to know that I could create, and people create a lot of wealth in our events.
Yeah.
And the first thing a lot of people do is they say, I'm buying a cruise for you. I'm buying you your car. Oh, Mom, I'm getting you that house. Why do they do that? Because they're so excited. They feel so amazing, and they're thinking, I could do this again. Why would a person in lack wouldn't give? A person who's abundant would give because they know how to create. So now the game changes. It's no longer about the self. You're doing it because that you know that you can create it. So then maintaining that state, when you're in love,
yes,
when you're in love, you're in love. You're the magnet. So the events that come into your life would not only be just a reflection of a relationship with someone that you wanted to be intimate with. You would have meaningful, loving relationships that would enhance that feeling. And when it didn't, you would say, ooh, you know what? I don't know. I don't know if this is right for me. You would trust that because you worked really hard to nurture this, to protect it, to grow it, to trust it again, to open up, right? It takes a lot to do this, but we see men in our work. I was on them this week. I never let up on those guys. Big, macho guys. You want to know what courage is? Let's go. Let's open that heart. And when they start cracking open, I mean, we see people heal from colon cancer and from angina and all, just boom, there it is, there it's not. That's what's been stored all down here. Once they open this up and it moves, the body is transforming in that moment. It's the system is informing itself. Information is being restored back into the body. So when you get to that point where when you're in lack and separation, time gets really crazy because you want stuff to happen faster and it feels like it's taking forever. That's because you're in separation. When you're in love and you're connected, you don't want the moment to end. I mean, I had 3 guys over for dinner last night, all these academics. I cooked a meal and a half for these guys, took out great wine. Why? I wanted them to be so caught up in the moment that they forgot. We made a new memory. We had a great experience. And life then is about experiencing it. In love. Like, I'm not going to be guilty of what I'm eating or judge what I'm eating if I've cooked a great meal. Let's eat. Because the guilt is worse than whatever it is you think is bad for you. So then, when you're feeling those elevated emotions, and you're locked in love, then you see life through the lens of love, and there's compassion. Like, you could look at your greatest adversary the person that threw you under the bus, and you've overcome yourself and you've done the work, you'll look at them and you'll see a part of yourself that you used to be that you no longer are, and you have nothing but understanding and compassion for, like, wow, I feel for that person. They're hurting. They're struggling. I used to be like that, but you're no longer that. When you're that, then they push your buttons because you're equal. But when you've overcome it, why would you do that? You would see them as somebody struggling, just like you see a child who's throwing a tantrum, just like other.
Welcome back, everyone. So I hope you can see how powerful this really is. That when you start to see yourself as a magnet, someone who can discipline their body, discipline themselves, train their body emotionally, and then attract something or repel it by just changing what's going on in here. See, by changing your emotion, you start to shift where you feel. If you're feeling ungrateful, changing yourself to feeling grateful is a huge shift. Why? Because it changes us emotionally, changes everything in here. And the conventional wisdom always says to try and change the outside circumstances. But what happens when we try and change everything in here first? Then we start to become like a magnet, and we start to attract different things based off of our vibration. So ladies and gentlemen, you are a magnet. The only question is, what do you want to attract? What do you want to attract on an emotional level? And train yourself to do that by holding that state. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.